I am going to show you a clip on One News of the conversation. And this actual conversation, you can watch the whole thing. It's about 11 minutes long. TVNZ or whoever, whatever affiliate they're using has pulled out a 2.5-minute bit. And it's a pretty good summary of some of the juiciest parts of it. And one of the things that starts off with saying is Zelenskyy basically saying to what's his name? JD Vance, that we've tried diplomacy. We signed a ceasefire and Putin broke it. So Zelenskyy is pretty much saying the whole time, yeah, we've done this. Yeah, we've done this. We've done diplomacy. We need something else. What else can we do? And I think most people would agree here. In fact, most people would agree around the world, if you look at the response from other world leaders, that Vance and Trump have certainly caused a huge problem here, a bigger problem than they had beforehand. And there is a rallying cry to get behind Ukraine like there never has been. Maybe it's going to be a bit like Māori and Seymour. You know, Seymour and Winston Peters are likely in the future to be listed as the people that helped solidify Māori across New Zealand, what they're trying to do now. Maybe Trump and Vance, of course, we know how they would write this story, again, are going to be seen as the one that solidified Europe and the world behind Ukraine by being such asswipes. Let's have a look.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment.
You
and
voted
your
for
men are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment...
You invited...
I know not much has been taken of that. Probably not much should be. It's a much bigger problem. But, you know, putting your hands on the man, Mr. Trump, I mean, it's not the more serious part of this whole conversation. But, dude, control yourself.
If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
Less.
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like that.
It's funny if you missed that. Trump just echoed the same things that Putin told him. That's what he's saying. Because Putin said, if you didn't have America, this would be over in 3 weeks. Trump is saying, if you didn't have America, this will be open in over in 2 weeks. Sorry, 3 days and 2 weeks. So they're actually literally Russian talking points that's coming out of the president of the United States' mouth right there.
Yes,
Again,
I tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of times
that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong.
It's not when you're wrong, it's when you're embarrassing us. I think JD Vance is smart enough to know that this is not a good look, and he either has to back down or go stronger, and I think internally he's gone, I'm going to have to go stronger here, to the chagrin of the rest of the world.
We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
And Trump's not smart enough to know this shouldn't be going on in front of the cameras. JD Vance is, Trump's not.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards.
Thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person. That was with Obama.
It was your
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks.
Yeah, it's not true either. It's about humanitarian aid from Obama and missiles from. It's not true. I can't remember the exact rundown, but I saw it on. I saw it on CNN over the weekend. Well, I saw it on YouTube from CNN over the weekend.
Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to.
So what he's doing there is telling Fox News this should be your headline. Like he's literally saying what the story needs to be is. He's actually saying, journalists, this is what you should write. Look at that face though. I mean, apart from anything else, how embarrassed, like the great negotiators, of the world, they don't react like this even if they get embarrassed. Because the thing about a negotiation is you want in the end to get the win for yourself and your company. And this is not how to do that. Even if someone comes out all guns are blazing and wants to embarrass you or whatever else, this is not the way to then you get a win for your business. So he hasn't played it well at all. And I mean, we already know this. We know he's not the great negotiator, but it's just evidence of it. I nearly finished. I'll give it 5 more seconds.
To be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards, but without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question.
And then I think there was one more thing there, and Zelensky said, we're not playing cards. It's like, it's probably a fair point as well. And SNL, Saturday Night Live, did a fantastic send-up of it where the character playing Trump goes, I've got the cards, I've got a reversey, I've got a skippo, I've got a... Yeah, it's very funny. Sorry, Chewie, you go, sir.
Yeah, look, this whole thing was shocking. Like, I don't think I was really ready to be shocked by Trump. Like, you think you've seen everything in his bag of craziness, right?
Yeah.
But now it's this combination of J.D. Vance, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and Trump all basically deciding that there's no way that Ukraine can win, so we're just going to extort them. We want the mineral rights. We want to we want to stop this. I get the feeling here that Trump wants a mineral deal, a real estate deal, and a Nobel Peace Prize. That's what the whole thing is.
There's probably an Oscar in there somewhere, isn't there? Maybe a documentary where he wins an Oscar as well.
The whole thing's ridiculous. Like the commentary that he's not wearing a suit. Zelenskyy said publicly and many, many times that he would not wear civilian attire until the war is over. He's a wartime president. We have seen this before. We have seen it in the White House where Winston Churchill went in a military uniform. He's fighting a war. To criticize a wartime president that he's not showing respect by not wearing a suit, it's not about you. It's about his people and how they see him. And I think it's the absolute lack of consideration or respect or understanding that this is a man who for 3 years has been defending his country against a much, much bigger power and has been sending his citizens to fight, defend, and die for that time. And it's so galling to see an American president just not show any empathy for that. America's never fought a war on its own soil. It's always been in somebody else's country. So how could they possibly understand? And I think just the arrogance to come in and go, no, you stop fighting when we stop, when we tell you to stop fighting, when we tell you that you can't win, and you have to settle for losing the deal on the table is give us $500 billion worth of your mineral rights, let Russia keep what they've taken, no guarantees of ongoing security, nothing. Like one of the core parts for Ukraine, when the Soviet Union collapsed, they had a massive arsenal of nuclear weapons that they inherited from the Soviet Union. And NATO and Russia and America said, hey, Ukraine, if you give up all of your nuclear weapons, then we will guarantee your safety. It's so important for the world order. Now, you've got one of those signatories to that agreement invading your country, massacring your civilians, torturing and killing POWs, stealing children, and Zelensky's had multiple assassination attempts on his life. So you've got one of those parties to that agreement. Now you've got the other major party to that agreement going, you should fucking give up. It's over because we say it's over. We're not even going to have you in the room when we discuss how over it is. I don't know how he sat there. The man, like, it was shocking. The people that are discussing this have no understanding of what's going on. Like that, first of all, Trump's mention of $300 billion worth of military aid, the number's wrong. It's less than that. It's closer to 2. But more to the point, 2/3 of that aid never left the US. And this is kind of what I was talking about when I was saying you donate old stuff and you say it's the full ticket price. Some of that aid, big chunk of it, has just gone into US defense budgets to replace the stuff that they give to Ukraine. So to sit there and go to Zelenskyy, hey, we've given you all of this money and what have we got to show for it? That's bullshit as well. What we saw here is Trump falling back into old patterns of being a real estate dealer that is connected to the mob and just acting like that.
Yeah, that's the
you have no
mafia shakedown.
So how dare you not be thankful for the shit sandwich that we're making you eat? Now, the one silver lining out of this is I think this whole thing has scared the shit out of the EU. To see England, France, Germany, Poland, Finland, Sweden, Italy, all rally around Ukraine in the space of hours. Because I think all of those guys have gone, oh shit, Big Daddy can't be relied on anymore. So I think there's going to be a massive modernization and rearming of the European powers, and Ukraine's going to be the beneficiary of that.
Sometimes, Chewie, we think we're a bit smart and we've got some good thoughts and opinions, but then someone in the chat just nails it perfectly. Gareth with a super chat. To be fair, Trump did choose to wear a suit during the Vietnam War.
Yes.
You said you don't know how we could sit there, Zelenskyy, and sit through this. I showed this last night, but I'll show it again now. Have you seen this piece of AI?
Oh, where he gets punched in the face? Oh, if only. The alternate timeline. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to show you something else as well, because you didn't say it, but I know everyone's kind of thought this before. The whole thing about not wearing a suit 3 days after Elon Musk is in there with dark glasses on and a cap on, and it's like, and SNL did do a send-up of them as well, both of them, all of them. Mike Myers back on the set doing an Elon Musk.
Someone to do a good Elon. Yeah,
it was pretty funny, and then you had the JD Vance character as well. So they were all getting into that pretty good. Maybe what we can do is actually have a look at the 3 news items, because you've kind of rolled into the next part, which is what's Europe doing now. And you know what? Keir Starmer is coming out of this looking pretty statesmanly. I mean, before the election, everyone said Keir Starmer would win as long as he continued to have a pulse. That was about the only criteria he needed to beat the Tories. And since then, everyone's been saying, what a wet bus ticket. He's going to be rolled. It's going to go the other way. But the way he's speaking and what he's saying at the moment is actually making him look quite statesmanly. And I'm not saying, hey, so silver lining, his career's going. I'm just saying, actually, when the shit hits the fan, there are people in Europe standing up. And as you say, Chewie, this could literally be, as Keir Starmer is saying here, a crossroads in history. Let's have a look at the News Hub story from tonight, or the 3 News story, I should say.
No, my harimai, welcome to 3 News. We are at a crossroads in history. Those words from UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer today as he hosted a summit involving Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders. He put himself at the centre of a coalition of the willing to support Ukraine. in the aftermath of Zelenskyy's catastrophic fallout with Donald Trump on Saturday and in the face of ongoing attacks from Russia. Now, Vladimir Putin hasn't given his response to the White House row, but the Kremlin said the new administration is rapidly changing all foreign policy configurations, adding that this largely coincides with our vision. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon has reiterated his support of Ukraine and its embattled leader. Senior political correspondent Jenna Lynch has more.
A war leader welcomed with a hug. The reception in London couldn't be further from his horror trip to Washington at the weekend.
Can you save your relationship with President Trump?
European leaders gathered for crisis talks after Volodymyr Zelensky's nightmare in the Oval Office.
Can Europe defend itself without America, Mr. President?
Everyone is searching for an answer to that question following Donald Trump's abrupt and dramatic 180 on US foreign policy.
We're gathered here today because this is a once-in-a-generation moment for the security of Europe.
These leaders pledging not to leave Ukraine to fend for itself, that Europe must remain united.
One thing our history tells us is that if there is conflict in Europe, it will wash up on our shores.
They want an end to the war, but no, Europe cannot fight this alone.
Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. This effort must have strong US backing.
Christopher Luxon reiterating whose side we stand on.
Just remember, it was Russia that invaded the Ukraine.
I want to talk to a little bit of this, Chewie. Maybe not right this very second, but we'll get to it because I think Luxon's been fucking weak in this. I'm about to drag something into screen here. Because on the day, he referred to the conversation as robust. So after it happened in the Oval Office, he referred to it as a robust meeting. And then, yes, he says we're behind Ukraine. And there's another clip I'm going to play you from today where he gets, actually it might be this one because we're watching 3, aren't we? It will be this one, sorry. So in this, he gets asked, does he trust Donald Trump's decision making? And he says yes. So I'm like, there's 3 things here. 1, yes, we're fully behind Ukraine. Oh, I trust Donald Trump. Oh, it was a robust conversation. I'm like, you know, fucking Meatloaf said it, mate. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Well, 2 out of 3 in this one is pretty bad. I don't think this has been strong enough leadership. I do get that we're able to say that sitting here, we don't have to worry about relationships with other parts of the world as our leaders do, but that just doesn't feel like the right tone. Like, when Keir Starmer started talking about it the day of and the day after, and all the leaders in Europe started talking about it, it wasn't like it was robust. It was like they were there immediately with support of Ukraine. Their first commentary was, we're behind Ukraine. Whereas it feels like that's his second or third commentary, and that feels like it's had to go through the PR team, my assertions now, to make sure he gets the messaging that we should say, and then it's come out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, certainly that first statement, well, the first statement that I said, that, and I gave him credit for this. I was like, okay, cool. Straight out of the gates, there's a strong comment of support for Ukraine. Good.
Yep.
It didn't read like anything that Luxon has ever said before. So it absolutely went through a social media and foreign affairs team. But it was good to see his name on it. And look, I copped a bit of flack online for that and Reddit and Blue Sky. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying here's the second coming of New Zealand's elder statesperson. I'm giving him credit because it's so unusual for him to get something right so quickly. Not that it is him going forward. Like, you know, as you're about to say, give him a little bit of time and then we'll get a comment that says, yes, I trust Trump's decision making, which after seeing that shit show in the White House over the weekend, how the fuck can you say that?
Yeah.
Everyone in America's sphere of influence should be concerned about this.
Yeah. Well, let's get to that. Let's get to that.
The core.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's get to that. Because this is the 3, so this will be the one. I had it from the actual press conference, but it's in the story, the Do You Trust Trump? Yeah, it just feels like someone again. I'm actually trying not to be too harsh because he did say the right things, that we're fully and supportive of Ukraine, but it feels like someone that when they get, like in the Mike Hoskins interview, but not as blatant, when they get put on a situation where they need to go outside the pre-prepared notes, he didn't know that question was coming, that he doesn't know the right thing to say. That's just how it kind of feels.
And they were the aggressor, and Ukraine was the victim of that. And so,
which is all correct. Like, it's good to have our leader saying Russia is wrong. Yeah, it just feels like once you go one step beyond the pre-prepared.
It is a low bar to clear, though. I think that's the thing that we're getting caught up with.
Yeah, it
is that it's a low bar
he,
because
like much
it's
of the
just
Western
historical
world, watched in
timeline.
despair as Trump and his VP berated Zelenskyy.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position.
It was a pretty tough watch. It was definitely a tough watch.
But it was no tough watch for the Kremlin, Russia's foreign minister praising Donald Trump's common sense.
They are talking about peacekeepers. They say, we are training thousands of people that they will be provided with air cover. This is arrogance, because nobody is asking us. But Trump, he understands everything.
Or does it worry you that President Trump is aligning more closely with Russia?
Well, again, what we want is a just and lasting peace. And for that to happen, we need the US and Ukraine and Europe to be involved in actually developing that peace plan.
The Prime Minister still views the US as a reliable...
Hang on, sorry, I missed something. Did he say Russia needs to be involved in that list of countries?
Yes.
He did say that. Okay, sorry, I missed that. My bad.
The US as a reliable partner.
Do you trust Donald Trump?
Yes, I do. I trust the president, and I trust the American system, and that we can.
We're getting the stutter, so we know that means he's a bit lost already.
Yeah.
Work well with the American system.
A coalition of the willing forming to bring the US back to the table. The UK and France acting as an intermediary.
We've agreed that the UK, France, and others will work with Ukraine on a plan to stop the fighting. Then we'll discuss that plan with the United States.
New Zealand is standing ready to contribute boots on the ground in a peacekeeping capacity when or if we are asked.
And I'd be very open for New Zealand participating in a peacekeeping mission, but obviously we need to have a peace secured first and foremost, and it seems like we're a wee way away from that.
As Ukraine still burns under Russian fire.
There you go. Chewie.
I find that language from Keir Starmer very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds to me like the EU is going to get their heads together and come up with a sensible adults plan and then put it in front of America with a bow on it and see what happens. I think you're quite right to identify Luxon's stutter when he's asked about Trump. And I think that has told us that he doesn't trust Trump. That's an answer that he could never say. Like we just don't have that much juice in the Pacific for us to go, I don't trust him, fuck him. As much as that might be the case. I think I've seen this bouncing around in the chat and a few other places as well, and I think this is a really interesting part of this discussion, right? This has prompted such a comparison with Russia, Ukraine, and how various allies and supporters have reacted to all of this with Israel and Gaza and the same.
Yeah.
And I've seen people go, look, Zelenskyy has talked to Netanyahu, he's expressed support for Israel and that sort of thing, is something to criticize him on. And I think this is a really difficult thing. Obviously, I've had a Palestine flag up here for many, many months. We've got a Ukrainian one up there at the moment. My heart is very definitely on the same place that we need a free Palestine and a free Ukraine. And invaders and oppressors can get the fuck back into their own country. Okay? Outside of those broad strokes, a president trying to get any sort of support to get Russia out of his fucking country has very few options. But I want to mention my personal theory about how these two things, the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the absolute carpet bombing of Gaza, are related.
Mm-hmm.
up until the Hamas attacks on Israel, Russia was getting pounded. They weren't winning the war. International opinion was running against them. America had one game in town, and that was to support Ukraine. The Soviet Union and Russia have always had very tight links with the Arab states of the Middle East. They've supplied money and funding and weapons to various groups throughout that era since the end of World War II. So what better opportunity does Russia have to change the conversation on its major antagonist, the United States, than kick off something that you could just, that rickety house of cards, you just kick it. Get Israel to do something monstrous.
Right, yeah.
So you fund and you arm Hamas to kick something off, knowing that Netanyahu would go absolutely bananas and really unleash hell on it. It would pull in civilians, and it, more importantly, would absolutely compromise America, because of course they're going to run to the defense of their long-term ally in that area, Israel. It was going to compromise whoever was at the helm at that point, in this case being Biden. It would affect his vote, and it would give Trump some really fertile ground to criticize him on. It compromised America's support for the Ukraine, and it put Trump into power again. This is 100% a power play from Russia, and it has worked perfectly for them. And at the low price of hundreds of thousands of other people, not Russians.
It's interesting. I think it might have been Jared last night on the Leftist Collective said also that these things aren't by accident in the Oval Office. That what happened with Zelenskyy would have been this is an opinion, obviously, but would have absolutely been planned, and it was a setup, and they were always going to drive him to a point of maybe exploding as a planned thing, that these things don't happen by chance in that kind of controlled atmosphere. I think if you put Trump into that environment, you lose a bit of the control, because who knows what's going to happen, but it's also another aspect towards this whole thing as well. Because I don't know, because this gives America the chance to be isolationist, which they want to be, isolate themselves. So, but the kickback from that is the rest of the world kind of having it out with America now. Is this, if that was a plan, did it work as they wanted to have that? Like, is this what they wanted, Chewie? Think that plan, if it was a plan, has their plan worked for ambushing Zelenskyy like that?
Yeah, it's I think it's united Europe in a really oh shit moment, and specifically NATO's two newest members, Sweden and Finland. Both Sweden is a massive arms manufacturer, and Finland has an enormous border with Russia. There is also a pretty monstrous military exercise planned in the coming months in Belarus. And that was one of the things that kicked off the invasion proper of Ukraine, is that they tried to pretend it was military exercises up until the last minute. So I think Poland, Latvia, Estonia are very much going to be on high alert going forward. So all of those countries have rallied in behind Ukraine, because they know that if this carries on, they could be next. And I think when you talk about that phrase that just the more people say it, the less it means to me, especially in the face of what we have all watched happen in Gaza, the international rules-based order. I think any sort of ceasefire or any sort of peace agreement that is put forward for Ukraine that just says, oh yeah, Russia gets to keep what they have. Russia doesn't have to pay reparations. Russia doesn't have to pay the hundreds of thousands. It doesn't have to return the hundreds and thousands of stolen children from the start of the war. We just want peace. And if anyone that disagrees with that peace, that agreement, well, you're just a warmonger, is just, I think, a little bit naive. Like, the comments that Zelenskyy said of like, this is when Trump called him a dictator and demanded elections during an active war, which is just insane. Zelenskyy saying, I will quit tomorrow if I have NATO membership.
Well, no, what he said was, if it requires me to quit tomorrow to get NATO membership, happy to do it. That's what he said. He basically went, if that was a condition on us getting it, then I would get it.
Yeah. NATO membership will never happen. Like, I don't think it can at this point. Not with America and NATO. I was watching a YouTuber that I quite enjoy called Ryan Macbeth. Now, he's a former US soldier and a military analyst, and he was actually over in Europe looking at NATO stuff around Ukraine for a video. And one of the things that he points out when Trump says, hey, look, you haven't paid us back for all of the stuff that you've given, Ukraine literally have a school for NATO soldiers in Poland to teach them the lessons that the Ukrainians are learning in blood.
Right, yeah.
The first time the Ukrainians took out and captured one of Russia's most modern top tanks, it was in Texas a week later. An intelligence gold mine.
Oh, yeah.
So again, this is stuff that Ukraine is paying for the stuff that it's getting. I think it would be realistic to say, hey, look, there's mineral rights or there's other things that we can do. It's just not this deal. We're not involved in putting forward what we want. How the fuck can someone negotiate on our behalf and not include us? Is a real sticking point there. So maybe if it's the case of the EU sits down with them and go, okay, let's thrash this out so I can just put this in front of Trump and go, all you have to do is sign off on this. We're all united behind this is the vision for Europe going forward. But my comparison is here, what a huge reaction that got from Europe.
Yeah.
And yet over the past year plus, God knows how long it's gone on in Gaza, everybody's just gone, oh, there's just nothing we can do. There's no, can you please stop bombing Israel? Oh, Israel said he doesn't want to. I don't know what to do. Like, this is such a glaring failure of the international community. Yeah. Like, and where do we go from here? These two things are exactly what the UN was set up to stop. And it has failed on both of them on a pretty epic scale because of UN vetoes, because of Security Council vetoes, and because of anything is involving Russia or the US, then nothing happens. Nothing changes because they don't want it to.